But what I think the pandemic and the past 3 years did was solidify that work can be done out of the office and we can work differently. Now, why I want to talk about this is that I get very frustrated when the business community and the corporate think starts to take over again. And it's happening now where I'm hearing a lot of buzz where companies are trying to have people come back to the office. And while I do support the fact, even in my own company, I do love when we're all here in the office being able to work and collaborate together. I understand the value you get from that. I don't believe that you have to do that every single day. Hey everybody, welcome to Finding the Upside. Thank you so much for joining me today. Whether you're listening or watching on the YouTube channel, welcome. And today I have another shorty episode for you. Today I want to talk about the future of work. Seems like a really common topic to talk about, right? But why I wanted to talk about this on today's episode is I've been reading a lot and seeing a lot on social media about the changing work environment, and meaning obviously we've come out of 3 years of the pandemic with lots of fluidity in the work, where we do the work, this remote work versus in office and hybrid. And if you haven't embraced already that hybrid is here to stay, let me just tell you that it is. But as you know, I've often said on other episodes and other things on social media, reels and lives that I've spoken on, and speaking presentations that I've given on this topic, that hybrid work environment has existed for longer than we think. Because in my experience, when I had people working for me, a lot of times they were not working in the same office as me. And many times they did work out of their home, or they worked at a remote office that was like a smaller office. So remote, hybrid, however you want to call it, has been in existence well before the pandemic. But what I think the pandemic and the past 3 years did was solidify that work can be done out of the office and we can work differently. Now, why I want to talk about this is that I get very frustrated when the business community and the corporate think starts to take over again. And it's happening now where I'm hearing a lot of buzz where companies are trying to have people come back to the office. And while I do support the fact, even in my own company, I do love when we're all here in the office being able to work and collaborate together. I understand the value you get from that. I don't believe that you have to do that every single day. And I think in our team structure, we have people that work in the office at certain parts of the year, each day, maybe a day from here or at a remote location here and there. But then other parts of the year, they are working exclusively out of their homes or at different locations, not here in the office. So I do support that and agree with that. But what I'm getting very bothered by, if you will, and frustrated by is these companies that are now all about bringing people back to the office, because the reason why they're doing, and more frequently, so either every day or 3 days a week in the office, 2 days at home, really trying to get people in. Well, that's important for connectivity and that's important for collaboration. I think the important question to look at is, why do these companies want people back in the office? Why? Sadly, I think many of them are just to justify the fact that the swipe, they're swiping in, is translated to mean more productivity. Because thinking that when people are in the office, they're more productive. I would argue that that's actually counter. Because I have found, not just for my team, but also for myself, that if I don't have to spend the time commuting to the office, I'm actually getting started a lot earlier. My team, if they are not having to commute an hour to the office. Or in my corporate days when I worked in New York City, commuting in from New Jersey would take me 2 hours each way. That's 4 hours out of the day. There's many other cities that are like that. I have a colleague that is in the Washington, D.C. area, lives outside of Virginia. Very common. And her spending the time to commute into the office, into the city, takes away from time that she could be working. So why are companies asking people to come back? I think it is most often based on those two reasons, that it's to make the business case for having the office, which many companies did the bold thing of saying, you know what, we don't need the office anymore. If they were a small team, everybody can work from home. And some companies, just maybe they're locked in because of a lease situation or whatever, which that I get. But if the reason is simply because they think that people are going to be more productive when they're coming into the office, really got to challenge the belief on that and ask, why are we requiring this of our people? Is it in their best interest? And is it even in our best interest? The really challenging part here is that a lot of times this corporate think, as I call it, creates these blind spots where people think and executives think and owners think that that will bring more productivity, but it actually isn't true. And there's not honesty and clarity about that because you're buying into this narrative that the business world is making and has made for many, many years. So I invite you to just take a look at that in your own companies. And whether you are the owner, you are a leader in that company, or you're part of the staff, what is your employer asking of you? And for what reason? There might be good reason. So we have, for example, some reasons here why we need to come into the office. If we're doing things with video and audio and things like that that wouldn't work well if people were working in a place where they were on a public Wi-Fi, then maybe that's not an option. So if there's like security or bandwidth issues or things like that. But that doesn't mean that every single day there can't be opportunities that are found to be able to have people work out of their home or work at a remote location to either get more focus and actually to bring more productivity out of that day because they are not having to commute in or handle or take away time from their actual work time getting to the office or transitioning. We all know transitions take so much time. So really getting clarity and being honest about what's happening in your company or as an employee, what your teams are looking like and being asked to do. And I would challenge that and make the case for productivity happens where you can work best. So if that's not in the office, I would definitely think about what are the reasons why. And as a business owner, really listen to your staff and really look at things of how we can ensure that we're not getting caught up in that corporate think, what we think works. We actually are looking at what does work. So last tip on this is, if you're not sure, try it. Try something different. Then look at how your team reacts. If you don't know if you'll work well at home, if you're an employee on a team and you're trying to make that case, try it. Say you'd like to try it. See how it works. Because for some people, it doesn't. But again, being able to be flexible enough to create that hybrid work environment, that's the future of work, is flexibility in location and schedule. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Finding the Upside. Thank you so much for joining me today. And I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Finding the Upside. Bye for now, friends.